Welcome back to the Rocket League Film Room. A-Dub here, and today we're doing another replay analysis for a guy by the name of abepaniagua or Paniagua. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. But he is a rising star in 1v1s, and we're going to be doing a little something different for today since he is on PS4. He uploaded a video of him on YouTube. So we're going to have to work with the YouTube video system here, and hopefully we can make it work. I think we can. So I'm going to go through and do an analysis, try to give you things that you can improve on. I'll point out things that I think you do well, and then at the end of the video, I'll probably go into or launch up Rocket League and show you how, excuse me, how you can practice some things that I pointed out throughout the video. So we can go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to go back to just right here in the beginning. Actually, I wanted to point out something of sort of an omen of kind of what was the story of this game. Right here, you kind of hesitate and he hits the ball over your head, and that happens a lot throughout the course of the game. It felt like he was just a little bit quicker to the ball and had quicker decision making than you did. We're going to go through and try and point out all the instances where I think you were a little bit slow to react, and try to tell you what you could have done differently. So we're going to talk about this first goal here, and I'm going to pause it if I can, if we can get it on the frame that I think is important. Let's see. So about right here. So you position yourself in a way that I think you can make the save, because he sees where you're positioned, and if we keep it moving just a little bit, the way he's positioned, you've got to be able to block the angle. You want to keep your car in between the ball and the goal, and right now you're sort of at an angle. So if we see what happens, and I'm going to slow this down. I figured this out the other day that you can actually slow the speed down. I'm going to slow this down to 0.5, and this might make the sound kind of weird, but it's a little bit easier to see. If we play through this, you see that he just dunks you, and the reason he dunks you, if we go back a little bit here, you move forward here right at the last second, and you lose your angle, right? So he's positioning himself at an angle, and he's going to flip back behind you basically to his right, and you lose your positioning between the ball and the goal relative to his car by driving forward. So when you flip, right, you're just hitting it right into him at this point, and your car is not there to block the rebound shot. If you had, and I'll go through this one more time, if you had stopped about right here and flipped into it sort of at an angle, you would have blocked this fairly easily, I think, considering that he wouldn't have had an angle to squeeze that end near post. So that's just sort of the physics behind 50-50s. If you can keep your car between the ball and the goal relative to the angle of attack that your opponent's coming in at, you'll have decent success with 50-50s. And at the end of the video, I'll post a video that somebody did which goes over that in more detail, and I think might help you understand a little bit more how to make sure that you win these more often and don't give up goals like this, because it's pretty frustrating when you're getting dunked on when you're in your own net, and it's fairly easy to prevent. All right, so this next play here was a really nice touch you made, and I honestly didn't think you were going to be able to get back in time. Honestly, I don't know if I would have even gone for the ball. So in that sense, you would have kind of proved me wrong. But that was a great touch, great first touch to get the ball on net, and then a great finishing touch to squeeze it in near post. Okay, so on this next play, I felt like you rushed your scoring chance a little bit too much. So I've paused it here. You get this nice block. And if we pause it again right here, you can see your opponent's driving back towards the net. He's in no position to challenge you. You really want to let this ball drop a little more so it's a little bit more controllable. And that way you can pick up a dribble and try to make a dribble play. Instead, you go for this kind of awkward double jump aerial or double jump shot. And it really wasn't necessary. I think if you had waited a little bit longer and let it drop, you would have had a much better shot because your opponent couldn't challenge you. So you don't want to rush it. If your opponent's giving you space, you definitely want to take it. And there's a few other scenarios throughout this game where I felt like you should have taken a little bit more time with your hits, and you would have put your opponent in a tougher position than you did just by rushing it and hitting it. And I'll point those out as we get to them. All right. So here's another, not another situation, but here's a play where maybe you hesitated a little bit too long. If we play this, I'm going to slow it down actually a little bit. I'm going to do it 50% again, just so we can see a little bit easier. If you play this, you took too long to start boosting. So you pick up this full boost, but you turn around completely before you start boosting. So you start boosting now. If you had started boosting like as soon as you grab that boost, if you had done a power slide, instead you do a normal turn, which is not as fast, and he ends up getting this 50-50. So let's go back to full speed again just so we can see it. I'll back it up a little bit if it lets me here. So right here, you want to power slide. You want to be power sliding and boosting as soon as you get your momentum around, I guess, whatever this would be, 90 degrees. You make a 90-degree turn. Really, you're making a 180-degree turn, but you don't want to start boosting until your car is gaining momentum towards this direction. But instead, you don't power slide. So you take sort of like this wide turn, and he beats you to the ball and gets a 50-50, because if you look at the angle, right, you're not positioned between the ball and the goal. You're positioned at an angle, and he's coming in, and he's going to just pinch this right past you. So at the end of the video, I might go into the Rocket League trainer and show you how you can, if you don't know how to power slide correctly, I can show you sort of what I do, and I might link you a video on how to power slide correctly that someone else did as well. Okay, so on this next goal, I think was just a matter of not anticipating where your opponent was correctly. If we play this, the ball's coming back towards your net. You saw that your opponent was, right? If you back up just a little bit, that's a little bit too far. This was the play we were just talking about. You can see your opponent's over on the left side. He might be grabbing that boost, or he might be just waiting to see where this ball bounces, but you know he's over on that side. So when this ball is going up, you know he's coming in from this direction. If you can see my mouse, you know he's going to be flying in this direction. And the way that you go up, though, you aren't anticipating him flying in to try and score this. You are sort of just anticipating how you can angle your car to hit it back towards his goal. I think you've got to be more in the mindset of trying to block the shot at this point, and not trying to turn this into a counter attack just because of where it is and how long it took you to get back because of the positioning. So if we slow it down, we can see, right, he's coming in off screen at this angle, you're coming in at this angle, so naturally he's going to beat you to about the spot right here and is going to hit it in. You wanted to take more of an angle like this, if you can see my mouse, so that when he's coming in, you meet him at the point, and the ball would have shot out probably over here somewhere. So if we play it, you can see what happens. He just comes in, and because your angle to the ball was poor, he kind of gets a free shot here on net. And that's something that comes with time. Practicing anticipation isn't really something you can do easily. There's ways in free play. I mean, you can go in and practice and slam the ball off the wall and try to jump and guess where the ball is going to bounce. But in terms of game sense and knowing when your opponent is going for a shot, a lot of that really comes down to just game sense. So really what I'm trying to just point out here is that maybe pay attention a little bit more to where your opponents are and where you think they might be coming for to take a shot. So this next play is another instance where you didn't anticipate where your opponent was going to hit the ball. You kind of just went for where the ball was currently. And if we play this, you can see he's going to backflip into it, but you go for the ball itself. And I'll pause it So you're driving straight at the ball. You know he's going to backflip this, or he's going to make some touch on the ball, but you're driving at this angle. You should be driving back at this angle so that when he hits the ball, you'll be able to save it easily. And as you get better, there'll be a lot less of what I call ball watching, where your eyes are solely focused on the ball and how you can hit the ball. When you get to the point where you don't have to think how to hit the ball, the game really opens up, right? You start noticing the little things like where your opponents are, where your teammates are, how much boost your teammates have, how much boost your opponents have. But until you get to that point, you've got to really, really try to focus on your positioning relative to your opponents. You can't give that up just so that you hit the ball. Even if you had gone this way and maybe missed the ball because you didn't anticipate how he was going to hit it, that's better than just kind of driving at the ball and hoping that he misses. So that's just something to keep in mind. And like I said, that'll come with time. And hopefully me pointing out these little things will make it so it's fresh on your mind, and you'll be able to focus on it in game. So if you remember earlier, I gave you some advice about letting the ball drop before you make a play, and that's exactly what you do here. Even though it doesn't lead to a scoring chance, before you kind of just went it for an awkward aerial when you didn't need to, right? You could have just, if you had done what you did before, you probably would have just jumped off the wall and tried to hit this, but you were good. You let it drop. You turned off ball cam so you could dribble easier, and you try to make a dribble play. Now it didn't work. You blocked it, but that is exactly what you want to do. So on the contrary, on this next part, I think you rushed a little bit taking this next hit. Now, if this had been on target, it would have been probably a nice power shot, but instead you hit it sort of into the corner, and that's exactly what your opponent wanted you to do. And if we go back a little bit, and I'm going to pause it so you can see, this is really the best I can do, you can see where your opponent was, right? Your opponent's just kind of waiting there. He's far enough back where he can't challenge the ball, so he's basically committing to being able to try to save your shot. So you want to be, I think, a little bit more patient here, and instead of just shooting it, try to maintain possession of the ball. If you can get him turned around backwards and get as close as you can to the goal, that's going to be your best chance of scoring. Instead, you kind of hit this ball into the corner, and then this next sequence of events, again, I think is just some ball watching. So you're kind of just anticipating him not going for the ball. Like here, you're just kind of watching it again, and then here you turn around and he just clears it completely over you. That whole play, I think, out of all the plays was sort of just a culmination of all the things that had gone wrong. So if we look, I'm going to go back just a little bit. Right, this first play, if he had hit that, it would have been a goal right away because you were completely driving the wrong way. And then this next play, you just kind of assume he's going to miss it. You drive straight at the ball and jump into it. Now, he did miss it this time. But again, if he hit that how he was trying to hit it, which was this way, that probably would have been a goal as well. So you hit it off the wall. And then, okay, so you're like, all right, maybe I have a shot here. So you kind of just sit here. Now he's flying over you again to hit the ball. And then here you make a nice touch to keep it in. You turn the wrong way, right? You were driving this way. You turned this way. He's driving this way, meaning the ball, if anything, is probably going to go this way. If you had turned like this instead of like this, you probably would have been able to get back in time. But either way, that whole sequence, I feel like it was just kind of awkward. You don't want to put yourself in those kind of bump in the corner scenarios. You're not really going to score like that. They're not touches that are going to get you good scoring opportunities. I would say at this point, after he hits this, it's better to just go back, right? Just rotate back, grab boost, and then try to make a play on his next hit. Don't think that maybe he's going to miss the ball in the corner and that you'll have an open net, because as you progress through the ranks, that's basically never going to happen. And that's not something you should rely on. You should rely on good rotations and challenging and taking space when your opponent gives you space. Alright, this is probably going to be one of the last things I point out from this video because I've seen a pretty common trend, and I think your main problem, at least for this game, was what I've mentioned before with the ball watching. And maybe this guy was ranked a little bit higher than you and you just weren't expecting him to get the kind of hits on the ball that he was getting. But on this play, again, you're just kind of looking at the ball and driving around kind of aimlessly. You see this, he's turning, he's going to crush this ball, and all your momentum is going towards the side. And you turn, you're not able to get back in time. I think that one, yeah, that one's off the post, so you didn't get punished for that right away. But I think just having the game sense to know that, okay, he's got possession of it, I've got to see what his next hit is. I can't just, drive around and think that he's not going to hit the ball when he does. And this guy showed throughout the game that he was able to hit the ball pretty hard in several occasions. He obviously knows how to get the power shots off the bounce. So that's just something to be aware of. You have to learn your opponents. If you're playing an opponent that maybe doesn't go for those power shots, maybe he likes to dribble, then what you did might have been okay. If we go back a little bit, right? If maybe instead, like throughout the game, this guy had just been dribbling the ball, then that would have been fine. But most of the time I saw he would just power clear it, and that's exactly what he did here. Of course, you got off the hook there, but again, that's something to keep in mind. Try to learn your opponents throughout the game. It's especially important in 1v1s. So the last thing I'm going to point out for you is just another scenario where you should have taken a little bit more time. Your opponent had his back to you here. You do get a nice dunk, and I think this leads to one of your goals. But you've got to really try to stay in control of the ball more often than I've noticed you doing throughout this game. Maybe this is just a bad game from you. It's sort of what you said. I don't feel like you played all that bad. I felt like a lot of it was just little positional things, not expecting your opponent to make touches he was making. But you've really got to take space when your opponent gives you space. Alright, since you sent me some replays of you playing 1v1s, I'm going to assume that's probably what you want to get better at. And from what I watched, it seemed like your playstyle is more of a counter kind of take advantage of when your opponents make mistakes. And that's a good strategy to have, but you've really got to be able to add some more to your game where you can actually force your opponents to make mistakes by making plays either by dribbling or by accurate shots, etc. So I'm going to show you some things that you can work on, starting with bounce dribbling. Bounce dribbling is really important in 1v1s, especially if you are using the Octane, because the Octane makes it pretty easy. So to start this, just get the ball rolling either direction. Doesn't really matter where you start from. Just get it rolling towards you. And then what you want to do, you want to just do like these little pops, right? You just want to get pops up so that at the end you can get a nice strong power shot. And really, you don't have to shoot it in this drill, right? You can just practice dribbling it, and you can kind of do it from the start too, right? You can kind of go side to side. You just want to practice like popping it up and dribbling it around. You can use the walls if you want. Just get little pops here and there until you're able to do this consistently, like around the map. Because you can get much more powerful shots when the ball is bouncing than you can when it's rolling, right? If it's just rolling like this, I mean, if I'm boosting, I can come in and hit it like this. But if it's bouncing, you can get it off the bounce, and because of the upward momentum, you'll get much better or much more power on the shot. So that's one thing to practice. Another thing you can practice is carrying the ball on top of your car. Right? This is something everybody sees. Some of the top players are really good at doing, but it's something that everybody should learn how to do. It's a really strong strategy in 1v1s, especially to be able to carry the ball on top of your car so that you can flick the ball over them. It's sort of an alternative to using the bounce dribble. I prefer the bounce dribble for most shooting opportunities, but it kind of depends on how your opponent is playing you. If they're rushing you a lot of times you don't have time to set up the bounce dribble. You just kind of have to go for a flick. So you just get the ball on top of your car and then, flick it over them. That wasn't really a good one. But at the beginning stages of the game, what I used to do would practice getting the ball on top of my car and trying to keep it on there as long as I can. This does a number of things besides learning how to score. It teaches you about the hitboxes and how to manage and turn the ball. And every car is different for doing this. It's pretty easy with the Octane. Some of the flatter cars, I have a little bit more trouble doing it just because I don't know, it just feels weird to me. I have a harder time turning the ball. So it's one of the reasons why I use the Octane. I think the Octane is one of the more 1v1 suited cars because you can kind of just like dribble the ball around in circles fairly easily. So that's another thing to work on. So you've got your balance dribbles, you've got your practicing carrying it on the car. The last thing, if you remember, I pointed out with your power slide. Let's see if we can set this up. So you were kind of driving back like this. You turned off boost. You grabbed the boost and then you didn't power slide. You did this right here, where you just turned around in a circle and then you went for the ball and your opponent beat you to the ball. The fastest you can turn around is basically holding power slide like that, but then throwing in boost. So you come in, and it's a little bit awkward to, maybe I'm going to move the ball just so we can make this a little bit more accurate. I'm going to move the ball. Actually, I can just do it from this side. So over here, you are coming in like this. You want to be able to power slide like that. And to do that, you start your power slide and then boost at the same time. Now, if your controls don't let you do that, maybe I'll post my control scheme. You need to be able to boost and power slide at the same time. It's really the fastest way to turn around. You really don't ever want to be in a scenario where you have to turn like this. It just takes way too long. You want to be able to hit the power slide and turn. It's the sharpest that you can do, and you'll beat a lot more people to the ball. And like I said before, I will leave some helpful tutorials in the description of this video. I wasn't intending on doing tutorials. These are just sort of, broad strategies that I'd like for you to work on. But actually how to perfect those and do those more consistently, I'll leave that to people that have already created really well done tutorials. So like I said, I'll leave those in the description. Hopefully you enjoyed the analysis. Hopefully there's some things in here that will help you improve your game. If there's anything else you would like to submit to me, feel free to do so, and I'll take a look. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.